Okay, now that we've loaded our budget structure and budget data into Sage Intacct Budgeting and Planning from Sage Intacct, we immediately have visibility using dashboards into our working budget that was loaded. So we can easily see what our cash balance is throughout the future budget year, our operating expenses, any kind of product standard units that we're generating, bookings growth, expenses, et cetera, et cetera. And these dashboards are really easy to add or modify. So there's pre-built widgets for various different types of dashboards and visualizations that you can add to your dashboards on the fly. So it gives a great overview of real-time data that's being generated within SIBP. We also have the Sheets reporting area. So since we loaded that data from Sage Intacct, we can immediately see pre-built reports around cash, around profit and loss, around balance sheet, bookings, headcount, and any kind of models that we generate within the tool. If we look at profit and loss, we can see that we have the ability to drill down into the details that we've loaded from Sage Intacct. As well as filter by various dimensions that we brought over. So if you remember in the wizard, we determined what dimensions that we wanted to bring into SIBP. We had departments, locations, and categories that we can filter by. So if we wanted to look at a P&L just by sales, for example, looks like we only have specific sales going forward from July, but if we looked at general and admin expenses, we can see it's just operating expenses, no revenue being generated from that department. If we toggle back to all departments, now we're getting that full view of the P&L. And the same goes for cash, balance sheets, and so forth. So let's talk about how we actually modify the budget data that has been loaded from Sage Intacct. So within our inputs and our main screen, this is where we can access the budget tree that has all the various lines of data that we can modify based upon what we determined through that setup wizard. In our example here, we have our full company budget that's being broken down by location, so East, Central, and West. And within East, we're looking at a breakdown of our account groups, sales, cost of sales, OpEx, and so forth. And then as we keep drilling down, we can see that lowest level of data that we're capturing. In this case, we're looking at standard products for sales, premium, and also add-on products. So within each of these different budget lines, we have the ability to enter data in various ways. So I'm going to go to add-on products because right now we don't have any data that we've brought in from Sage Intacct, but we want to be able to enter data to be captured. So within each of the line items, there are different types of ways to enter data for that line item. In this case, we are looking at a revenue option. We also have templates around perpetual licenses, if it's a simple subscription, if it's services, SaaS subscription. These are really different templates that are pre-built that you can use to help you load data into the system. We're just going to keep in this example a revenue type. And if you see these are particular bookings that we're looking at. So now, depending on that type of line item that you choose, the selections down here will change. So for us, we're looking at a quarterly booking that we decide to spread evenly for each amount that is billed. We're looking at it hitting the first part of the quarter, and it will be $10,000 per quarter. So when I enter that data, you can see a preview of how that will hit your budget for that next year. We also have a date range of when this amount will apply, as well as some other items down here at the bottom where we can determine that $10,000 each quarter will hit a specific department, if it hits a certain location or category, or if you want to allocate it out to multiple areas. So for example, if we wanted to allocate this the sales to two different departments. So for example, if we want a revenue to hit 95% of the $10,000 per quarter to sales, but we also want to add that revenue of 5% to our marketing department. So now that will actually allocate by the split that you have down here at the bottom. So we'll go ahead and save now. And those changes have been saved successfully. So now that has been added to our budget, it also has consolidated automatically, so we can see it at that top line level budget, as well as in the sheets and dashboards. An additional way of adding more details to a particular line item, we can take a look at our example about standard and premium products. So within this line item, we have chosen to load that revenue data from a particular model that we've built. So we can see from the type, it says revenue from model, and we can see right where that data that we see previewed here, where it's actually pulling from and what model line. So if we go ahead and click the Go To Model line, that's going to bring us straight to our inputs model. We were just on main, but now we're in model to be able to see how that data was built up. So you can see here on the left in our model screen, we have two different model groups right now about calculating our sales east data and also calculating travel by department. Right now we'll focus in on sales east. So it has taken us directly to the area where it's pulling that sales revenue in. And we can see the breakdown of here's our standard product sales, here's our premium product sales, and here's the total for all East product sales. So you may be wondering, how did we actually get to that $155,000? And if we look at our standard products, where it's being calculated from, we're using various assumptions as well as units to be able to calculate out sales by item number. So right now we have two different assumptions created around list price for our two different products. So item 101 has a list price of $700 and item 102 has a list price of $900. So we've set those assumptions up to calculate out our revenue based upon the number of units. So down here at the bottom for our model lines, we've added and loaded in from a Excel file the units for each of those different items. So we have 100 units coming in for January, and the sales dollars is actually taking the units times the list price to come up with that value. And the way we can create and modify different formulas, we can edit our line, and we can see here, so our item 101 sales is being calculated by our built-in calculator in SIBP. So you can see this, it's actually really similar to Excel formulas that we're using. And you can see right here, we're using the round function, and we're choosing the assumption around item 101 list price that we saw. So just by dragging this up into the formula line, so we're using list price times the number of units, and we're rounding it to the 0 level decimal points. So just by doing that, I'll go ahead and say that, it's calculating out our revenue for item 101. So we're doing that exact same thing for item 102, and then we are adding up our various items to a total standard product sales. And that's actually linking back to the summary view for that $155,000 and a total for all sales east within our model. And that is being linked right back to our standard product budget line, you can see here, which we can go right back to where we started from with our standard product at $155,000. So SIBP really gives you that ability to build up models that you may be keeping in Excel today that you want to bring into a centralized system like this. So we can calculate using drivers and assumptions for various line items within the budget. And by using assumptions and models, we can easily create scenarios on the fly as well to now start changing that list price, to start changing units and see what the impact is on the financials, so you can make key business decisions on the fly by using the modeling tool here before actually committing that to your budget or your forecast.